So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast with Wyndup Kid. We're gonna ask some questions today. I'm gonna start. So what inspired you to start the band, and what does the band name mean?
Well, Wyndup Kid actually started off as sort of my graphic design project back in
Oh,
like 2017. Yeah, I was in another band and I was working like a bunch of jobs as a janitor and a gas attendant, and I needed some kind of like outlet when I couldn't play with my band. So it started off as like just a platform for me to like make my collage art and like other mixed media art. And then once my old band dissipated, I was like, oh, well, I already have this like artistic visual vision. Let's like turn it into like a band, and that's where it went from there.
Okay.
wow, that's really cool. And the band name.
Yes. So I was thinking like when I was thinking of names, I was really thinking of like images of like wind up toys.
Hmm.
Like I was thinking about I forget what kind of commercial, which brand it was for the commercial, but there was this one commercial that like really stuck with me when I was younger. But it was like about like depression medication, and it was like these like little like animated like Tinker toys, and they'd
Hmm.
be like, just feel like you're just not wound up,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and go on like Lexapro or something. And I was like, sometimes I feel like the wind up toy just kind of like crouched down, but then like when I see people or like when I'm playing music, I'm just like really like excitable and like wound up, like kind of how I feel like here, like talking to you guys. I'm like very happy to be here, and I'm like, oh, this is the energy, this is the zest of life.
Oh,
So I
Yeah.
find myself constantly like in states of like being like super placid and calm, but then like kind of off the walls excitable, and that's kind of where the name came from.
okay.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that one. That's a good one. So congrats on your newest release, Poison. How do you feel the
Oh,
response to that single so far?
it's been great. I mean, when I released it, it was back in June, and like I didn't really want to do too much promoting on it, like because it was a standalone single, and like basically I just wanted something to put out, like sort of in the height of quarantine, just more of like me essentially kind of shouting into the void and like seeing who would hear it, like the
Hmm.
few who actually like care to hear it.
Mhm.
I also just felt like, especially like the climate at the time, like I didn't think it would be very appropriate to like hardcore like promote my new single.
Hmm.
So I just kind of put it up there, and I was like, if you know what's up, you know what's up. Listen to it, donate to the Bail Project. And I thought it would be like my like most constructive way to like get involved during like the height of like protesting, and like I try to avoid using like height of protesting or like during that time, because ideally like activism and protesting is, and if you're not doing it, you should be doing it now and tomorrow and forever.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So that's Poison. But we're actually going to be putting out a music video for it January 12th. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I mean, it's only like 8 months past due, but better late than never.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I kind of have this really like I would say it's like a good habit, but it could be a bad habit of just like my mind flies in like so many different places at once.
Mhm.
So I've always got my hands in like a bunch of different pots.
Mhm.
Like it's like cooking like 7 meals at the same time. So like it would be so much easier to like cook one thing at a time,
Hmm.
but like I end up like cooking seven at the same time. But like eventually, like they get finished, and like I put them on the table. So like
Yeah.
single was months ago, the video's coming out next month.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking 2021 is the year that Joey from Wyndup Kid gets his ish together. I'm calling it
Okay.
now.
All right.
Okay. It's gonna
Calling
be
it at
your
the end of
year.
2020.
Yeah, so organized. I'm actually in the studio right now working on some tracks. Hopefully gonna have a release coming out in the spring, and with that, I'm gonna actually like do some organizing and get stuff together in a
Hmm.
timely manner.
Yeah.
That's the goal for 2021. Like Wild Man Joe is gonna like focus
Hmm.
and get
Okay.
his ish done on time.
All right.
We're gonna
Like-
basically take cooking with 7 pots into cooking with one giant pot.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Consolidate all those
Yeah.
tiny pots put into one big pot, but it's gonna be the same amount of ideas.
Yes, the Mondo pot.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Excited.
So you actually brought up the music video, which segues perfectly. I want to ask if there's any like meaning behind the music video or anything like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. The video itself, kind of like with a lot of the music I make, is there's always like a kernel of how I'm really feeling like about the song and like the theme of the song. So for this song, I think I wanted to be very careful when I wrote it because I didn't want it to appear as if I was like talking about like an individual, you know, because it's a song about like it's definitely acknowledging like more negative themes than I'm used to, like with my writing, but it's about like kind of like be like writing it as like a way of catharsis to recognize like, oh, like, you know, this is like a bad thing, but I'm recognizing it. So for me, the biggest thing with Poison is it's a focus on like body image and like dysmorphia and like stuff that people struggle with, I think, on the day to day, where it's like the person you're looking at in the mirror could be the poison, that like weird sort of unattainable goal that people tell you need to reach. That's the poison, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Anything that brings you down other regards is poison, you know? So I wanted the video to kind of have like, in my attempt to make it as like lighthearted as possible, like it's got a bit of like almost like a horror movie kind of aspect to it.
Yeah.
With a lot of inspiration from this amazing filmmaker Kenneth Anger.
Okay.
So a lot of kind of like, you know, mid-century 70s avant-garde like short filmmaking like elements to it.
Yeah.
Really excited for people to see it because I always find like with music videos, for me it's basically a mosaic of like things that I'm watching or reading or things that I'm inspired by, and I'm just like, yeah, this is what I look at, you know, when I'm not making music.
Yeah. That's really cool. So it's like a little time capsule of what you were watching or reading in that time when you make a music
Exactly.
video.
Yeah.
Aw,
Exactly.
That's really cool. I like
Thank
that.
you.
So back to your new single, Poison.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about your writing process for it?
Yeah. I mean, I actually wrote that song when I was 17. I'm not 17 anymore. A little older than that. It's above 5 years, so I'm older than 22. But I have a thing where like I'll write a song and not quite know what it's about, you know. And sometimes I'll feel this like internalized guilt that like, oh, I'm writing songs about nothing. I'm like, this has no purpose in my life, you know. But eventually, like, I carry the song with me, and you know, it could be like a month, it could be a year, it could be more than 5 years, and eventually like the lyrics like have this kernel of truth, you know, the kernel of truth I was talking about before. Like I find it like, you know, in some amount of time, and then I go back to it and I'm like, oh, that's what I meant, like, you know, 7 years ago when I wrote it, you know, and I'm gonna put it out now because I feel that now.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the process. Very much like I had to like experience or like find how to characterize what Poison was before I could even have the audacity to record it.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So speaking of that, where was your headspace at while you were writing this song?
Pretty positive, actually. It was post Christmas last year, you know, like I've been in recovery at that point for like well over like a year and a half. So I was doing really well. So I really felt like it was like a way to kind of like make some kind of like timestamp of growth or catharsis.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Very cool.
So is there a certain feeling you want your listeners to have while listening to this track?
I definitely don't want it to bog them down. That's like my whole thing. My entire like ethos as like not only like an artist, musician, but also like a person, that you don't always have to be like one thing, you know. Not everything has to be one thing. There's so much nuance in like lyrical content, in performing, in like identity as a musician, where it's like, you know, I have the acknowledgement in myself and the confidence in myself to know that I'm very good at what I do. I take a lot of pride in what I do, but it's also okay not to take yourself too seriously. So by that measure, with like songs that I write, you know, the subject matter, you know, could be like a little more weighty, but it's totally okay to like make a song with like a little toy, like Casio keyboard with like robot claps, which I did on that record. Like just make it kind of fun and have people kind of wiggle their butts to it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this question should be like super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe the single for new listeners in 3 words.
Pump out sadness.
Pump out sadness. I like that one.
That was quick.
Out sadness.
I love it.
That's great.
And then
That's
5
perfect.
Pump out sadness. Sadness right now.
Okay, that's good. I like that. I like
Thank you.
the pair of gave us 2 options. It's good.
Yeah. It's
great.
gonna work with what
Exactly.
I do.
So while listening to this track, what band or artist influences stick out the most, if any?
Oh, well, for that track specifically, I was getting really into like this Swedish band Viagra Boys.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cool. They're like this kind of like avant-garde, like trance punk band where I really wanted to kind of like master this ability to kind of just have like a loop sort of playing, like as I'm like doing the song, like really testing myself in terms of how much I can get with so little.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm in the studio right now, and I know my buddy who's been engineering us, at this point, he's probably sick of hearing me like bring up Bo Diddley, but like Bo Diddley's like my biggest musical inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, it's just his ability to like do so much with so very little and just make it sound like timeless and otherworldly is like something I try to bring to every recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, especially with the stuff I've been working on, like I really like, I'm glad there's like other people here, because if it was totally up to me, I would like make it the most like bare minimum, like the lowest of low fidelity, which is down not what I want, but like I always have this like inkling to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm glad like with these new recordings I've been working on, like I think people are going to be like really stoked on them when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting stuff.
See, I like that you brought up the fact that you're trying to make your music almost timeless, because I feel like not a lot of band and artists think about that, at least when they're working on their music. Like, sometimes it works out for them, but just the fact that you're thinking about, like, I want this to still be good and still work in, like, 5-10 years.
Absolutely. I'm not going to write about a landline telephone.
Yeah.
That issue's outdated. Or, like, you know, I'm not going to have, like, AirPod in my song, because, you know, how long are those going to last, you know? I have always had this mantra that I've carried with myself as an artist, where you have to walk a very fine line between respecting the past, looking forward to the future, but also being a product of your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have your music be indicative of things that have been, put it in the now, and make sure that it can last forever.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I approach all my art making.
Wow.
Okay.
That's really cool. I
Very
like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to shift away from the music you've put out recently for 2 seconds. You did a drive-in show during the summer. I wanted to ask how that opportunity came about and what that experience was like. I was actually there with my girlfriend. So,
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have fun?
Yes, it was fun. Very hot, and my car battery almost died, but it was fun.
Oh.
Honestly, on stage, my like heart battery almost died. It was very hot that day.
Yeah.
But it was so worth it. Like, it was the funnest day. Like, it was so cute that like my roommate and I, Madison from Ogbert the Nerd, like we were able to just basically like wake up that day and be like, "Morning, honey, want some
Show
coffee?
day.
Cool. All right, let's go do a show now."
Yeah.
So it's just like really sweet. And especially like, you know, during our current situation, I feel incredibly privileged, and I definitely cherish that opportunity and the fact that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really, I'm trying to be optimistic. I think we are we're gonna pull through this for sure, and I think we'll all be kind of seeing each other's faces sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe next year.
yeah.
Hopefully.
My fingers, my toes, my buns, everything's crossed right now.
Wow.
Everything.
Everything. Everything's crossed. All right. So where do you see the project in the next 5 years? And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to see it as far as it can go. Honestly, for a very long time I used to be almost like destructively humble about myself, and I wouldn't take into account like my talents and like my abilities to actually like do things in music.
Yeah.
And I think and it wasn't really in a way that was like incredibly constructive. So now I'm in a place of like, no, I'm gonna bet on myself like fully because I believe in what I do, and like there's people who believe in it also. So I'm really optimistic for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I can kind of just see myself chugging and rolling as I'm doing, with hopefully like more people enjoying what I do and like meeting a lot more new friends,
Yeah.
and just having the best time.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. For sure.
And I forgot to ask, is this single leading up to anything? EP, album, anything bigger?
Definitely something. I will say that. I know my goal in my heart of hearts right now is to get another tune out in February,
That'd be
which I'm
sick.
really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And Poison will probably end up somewhere, maybe on an EP, maybe on an album. When I put it out, I really didn't think that far ahead, but now that I'm, my new resolution is to plan things and have goals for myself. I think a release of like a larger scale than a single will definitely happen in 2021.
Okay.
All right.
That's
I
exciting.
will.
Excited for that. So for the last couple questions, we're actually shift away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Boom again. Yep.
For a sec, I was like, Death Row Records. I'm like, that's still music.
God.
We've gotten them so many times.
So many times.
Let's see. Honestly, like, it won't be good, but it's gonna be comforting. It's gonna be the food that I cook myself at my like shed apartment every night. It's gonna be a big old bowl of chickpea pasta with like just a crap ton of veggies. I'm talking broccoli, snow peas, cauliflower, just a big giant bowl, just a giant bowl of pasta and veggies with sparkling cider, an entire bottle for my side drink.
Wonderful. That
Solid.
sounds delicious. Yeah.
So I'm combining that like I eat just about every day with something about once a year.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
That's the way.
Is that
routine.
honestly, yeah.
Asian.
Great. I love it. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Maybe just because my tambourine player and I watched the entire series, Hill Valley 1985 from Back to the Future.
Okay. Taste.
Just because I don't know, like how is life so easy? Like, to be like Marty McFly and just be friends with like a disgraced scientist, skating around, like grabbing onto people's like trucks and stuff. Like what a world.
That'd be fun.
Distance in California.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person we've spoken to have said the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Ooh, see, Madison did warn me about this
Hmm.
coming in. They were just like, "Yo, brace yourselves. They're gonna hit you with the hard,
The
deep
hard
cutting
questions.
questions. Like what?
Hmm.
Oh man, I would like to say like I gave it thought and then I would come up with something conclusive, but I have not. I guess I'll have to ask for caveats.
Mhm.
White, is white a color? Right? Do we consider white a color, or do we consider white?
we can consider it a color if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Glorious
Well,
the
I'm not
color,
going to pick
please.
it. I was just.
Okay. Okay.
I wasn't gonna.
Sure. Sure.
All right. I think easily like a shell pink. That's been really kind of
Ooh.
resonating lately.
Yeah. That's like a really light pink, right? Just to
Mm-hmm.
confirm. Yeah.
Like
Taste.
almost like white, like just super like suave, like frosting on a cake.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good
I just
color.
the other week like pink with like red and all that, and I was just like, it's my little like strawberry shortcake board.
Yeah. I love
I was
that.
so excited. I got like these like red wheels for it too.
Oh,
It'd be so fun
I
to
love
like
that.
post them.
I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug? Oh my god.
Huh? Nothing besides like the video coming out January 12th, and just follow my Instagram at Wyndup Kid, because you're definitely not gonna want to miss out on my 2021. It's gonna be huge.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with us. This has been Wind Up Kid, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.